You just got promoted. The salary bump you have been working towards for 2 years finally lands. You do the maths in your head. An extra £8,000 a year. That's nearly £700 a month. And for about 48 hours, you feel genuinely good about it. Then the first payslip arrives. And the number doesn't look anything like what you expected. You are not imagining it. You're not bad at maths. Something actually happened to your money. Something nobody in your HR department explained. Something your employer didn't mention. And something that most people earning at this level spend years confused about before they figure it out. By the end of this video, you are going to understand exactly what happened, why it's actually one of the most interesting financial opportunities available to you right now, and more importantly, the precise moves that accountants use at this income level to build serious wealth while everyone else is just getting by. The number is £50,270, and the reason it matters so much is that it is the exact threshold where the UK income tax system shifts gears underneath you. Without warning, without announcement, and without any of the fanfare you would expect for something this significant. Below £50,270, you pay basic rate income tax at 20%. Above it, you pay higher rate at 40%. That much most people know. But here is what most people don't realize. It's not just the tax rate that changes. Everything changes. And the combined effect on a typical professional's take-home pay is far more dramatic than a single rate change would suggest. Let me walk you through exactly what happens, because this is where it gets genuinely interesting. The moment you cross this threshold, three things happen simultaneously that most people treat as separate issues but are actually one interconnected system. And understanding how they connect is what separates people who build wealth at this income from people who just feel like they earn good money. The first thing is the income tax rate jump. On every pound you earn above £50,270, you now pay 40p to HMRC instead of 20p. That's straightforward enough. But here is what the payslip doesn't show clearly. Your national insurance rate actually drops from 8% to 2% above this threshold. So your combined rate on income above £50,270 goes from 28% to 42%, not 20% to 40%. 28 to 42. That's 14% point jump in what leaves your pay packet before it ever reaches your bank account. The second thing is something called the personal savings allowance. And this is the one that genuinely catches people off guard. Every UK taxpayer gets an allowance of savings interest they can earn completely tax-free. As a basic rate taxpayer, that allowance is £1,000 a year. The moment you cross into higher rate, it halves to £500. It cuts in half on the pound you cross the thresholds. If you have any meaningful savings earning interest, that change is immediate and it costs you real money. The third thing, and this one matters enormously if you have children or a plan to student loan, is what happens when you stack these changes on top of each other. A Lancaster University Work Foundation study published in 2025 surveyed nearly 4,000 workers and found that barely half of the people with rising incomes feel their wages are keeping up with their actual financial position. The tax system is a big reason for that. For a parent with 2 children and a student loan earning between £50,000 and £60,000, the Resolution Foundation, one of Britain's most respected economic research organizations, calculated that the true marginal deduction rate on each extra pound earned can reach 63%, not 40%, not even 42, 63 pence out of every pound. Add a third child and it climbs to 71%. This isn't a theoretical edge case. This is hundreds of thousands of people in the UK right now. And if you are wondering why you felt like the promotion didn't change your life the way you thought it would, that's not a feeling, that's arithmetic. Here is something that surprised me when I first came across the research on this. And I want to spend a moment on it because it explains something beyond just the tax mechanics. Harvard psychology lecturer Tal Ben-Shahar coined a term called the arrival fallacy. He described it after winning a national squash championship, a goal he would work toward obsessively for years. He won, and within hours, the same stress, the same emptiness, the same sense of, "Is this it?" returned. He realized that the achievement he would pinned his happiness to hadn't delivered what he expected, because the expectation was wrong in the first place. This plays out in personal finance constantly. Once I earn £50,000, everything will be easier. It becomes the psychological finish line. And then you get there, and because of everything we just discussed, the tax cliff, the lifestyle that silently expanded to meet the new number, the pay slip that doesn't look like the salary, it doesn't feel like arrival. It feels like continuation. Morgan Housel captures this brilliantly in his book, The Psychology of Money. He writes that saving money is essentially the gap between your ego and your income, and that most people, as income arise, allow ego to close the gap entirely. The lifestyle expands, the subscriptions upgrade, the car gets replaced a year earlier, not through any dramatic decision, just through 1,000 small ones that feel individually reasonable but collectively absorb every pound of the raise you just received. The FCA's Financial Life Survey, published in 2025, one of the most comprehensive studies of UK financial behavior, covering over 19,000 adults, found that 44% of people had reduced or stopped saving or investing in the previous 12 months. Not just lower earners, people across income band. Because income and wealth are two completely different things. And at the 50,000 level specifically, the system makes it very easy to confuse having one with building the other. Now here is where I want to shift gears, because everything I have described so far is actually setting up what is genuinely one of the most powerful wealth building window in the UK tax system. And most people sitting in it have no idea. The reason the 50,270 threshold is so interesting from an accountant's perspective isn't the problem it creates, it's the leverage it unlocks. There is a mechanism entirely legal, specifically designed to be used this way, available through most UK workplace pension schemes, that allows you to effectively reverse the tax cliff, to pull your taxable income back below the threshold, and in doing so, save not just the income tax, but national insurance contributions, student loan deductions if you have them, and in some cases, child benefits clawback, all simultaneously with one decision. That mechanism is salary sacrifice into your pension. Here is how it actually works, because I want to be precise about this rather than wave at it vaguely the way most finance content does. Salary sacrifice means agreeing with your employer to take a lower contractual salary, with the difference paid directly into your pension before it's ever processed through payroll. The key word there is before, because the money never passes through the income tax system. It's never taxed at 40%, never subject to 8% NI rate, never counted in your student loan repayment calculation. It simply doesn't exist as income for tax purposes. Let's make this concrete with a real example. Say you earn £50,000. You are £4,730 above the higher rate threshold. If you salary sacrifice £4,730 into your pension, your adjusted net income drops to £50,270. You have just saved 40% income tax on that £4,730. That's £1,892. You have also saved 8% employee national insurance on the portion that falls in the main NI band, roughly another £378. And if you have a Plan 2 student loan, you have also reduced your repayment calculation, saving another 9% on that £4,730, which is further £425. In total, that £4,730 of sacrifice costs you around £2,035 in reduced take-home pay, but it puts £4,730 in your pension. You have effectively turned £2,035 into £4,730, a return of over 130% before your pension pot earned a single penny of investment growth. Your employer also saved 15% national insurance on any salary they no longer pay you, and many employers pass some or all of that savings back into your pension as an additional contribution. Some pass the whole lot. If your employer is one of them, you should absolutely know that, because it changes the numbers dramatically. The annual pension allowance currently sits at £60,000 or 100% of your earnings, whichever is lower. You can also carry forward unused allowance from the previous 3 tax years, potentially allowing larger one-off contributions in years when a bonus or unexpected income has pushed you over the threshold. The point isn't to contribute as much as possible immediately, it's to contribute strategically with the threshold in mind, and understand that every pound of salary you sacrifice in this range is doing several jobs at once. Once you have addressed the salary sacrifice question, the next layer of prescription is the stocks and shares ISA. And I want to explain why this matters specifically at this income level, because it's not just about tax-free growth in the abstract. When you cross into higher rate tax, your personal savings allowance halves. Your dividend tax rate rises to 33.75% on dividends above the £500 allowance, and your capital gain tax rate on investment rises from 8% to 24%. Every one of these changes make the ISA wrapper more valuable than it was the day before, because the ISA sits entirely outside all of these calculations. No income tax on interest, no dividend tax, no capital gains tax on gains. You can invest up to 20% £20,000 a year, and everything that happens inside is invisible to HMRC. The HMRC's own savings statistics shows that the median ISA holder contributes around £7,000 a year, roughly 35% of the available allowance. At the higher rate thresholds, leaving the remaining £13,000 of allowance unused isn't just a missed opportunity, it's paying tax on growth and income that didn't have to be taxed. Over a 20 or 30 year horizon, that difference in compound growth is not marginal, it's transformational. If you are under 40 and currently saving towards first home, there is also a lifetime ISA, which allows you to contribute up to £4,000 a year within your overall ISA limit and receive a 25% government bonus on top, worth up to £1,000 per year. For a first-time buyer purchasing a property up to £450,000, the LISA is genuinely one of the most underused financial tools in the UK. But act before your 40th birthday. Once you turn 40, you can no longer open one or make new contributions. I want to come back to something Morgan Housel wrote because it connects the mechanics to the mindset in a way I think is genuinely important. He uses an anecdote from Kurt Vonnegut, the American novelist. Vonnegut and his friend Joseph Heller, the author of the Catch-22, were at a billionaire's party. Vonnegut pointed out that their host had made more money in a single day than Heller earned from Catch-22 over his entire life. Heller's response was simple: yes, but I have something he will never have: enough. The concept of enough is the most underrated wealth building idea at this income level. Not because £50,000 to £55,000 is a fortune. It isn't, especially in London, but because this is precisely the income band where lifestyle inflation is most seductive, most normalized by peers, and most destructive to long-term wealth. The research economist Arzo Lutmer at Dartmouth published a study in Quarterly Journal of Economics that tracked 5,000 households over time and found that rising neighbor incomes are consistently associated with lower self-reported happiness, even when the individual's own income hasn't changed. We measure our financial situation not against what we have, but against what the people around us have. At this income level, people around you are upgrading. The social pressure to match them is real and well documented. The counter move is automation. Pay yourself first. Set your pension contribution and ISA investment to go out on payday, before you have seen the money, before you have made any spending decisions. The FCA data is unambiguous. People who automate their savings consistently save more than those who save what's left at the end of the month. Because at the end of the month, for most people at this income level, there is very little left. Not because they don't earn enough, because the gap between income and lifestyle has been allowed to close. So let me bring this together in the way I would frame it for a client sitting in front of me. First, understand exactly where you sit relative to threshold. If you're earning between £50,270 and £60,000, your priority is salary sacrifice to bring adjusted net income towards or below £50,270. This single move gives you the highest leverage return of anything I have described, combining income tax savings, NI savings, student loan savings, and potentially employer's NI pass-through, all from one decision. Second, capture any employer pension match you are not already taking. Free money. There is no other description for it. I have sat with clients who were leaving 3, 4, 5% employer contribution unclaimed because they had not opted in. This should be your absolute first action before anything else. Third, fill your ISA. Once the pension is doing its job on the tax threshold, the ISA does the job on sheltering everything above it. Start with a stocks and shares ISA for money you don't need for at least 5 years. The compound growth on tax-free investment returns over 10, 15, 20 years is the difference between retirement as an event and retirement as a choice. And fourth, watch your lifestyle gap. Not to live like a monk, but to ensure that when the next pay rise comes, and it will come, you make a deliberate decision about where that money goes, rather than letting the lifestyle absorb it silently. Even directing half of each future raise into your pension or ISA and spending half guilt-free gets you to a position in 15 years that most people at this income level never reach. This isn't about sacrifice, it's about intention. And intention compounded is what wealth actually looks like. If this video just reframed how you think about your salary and what's actually possible at this income level, drop a comment below telling me what's the one move you are going to make first. The pension, the ISA, or having the salary sacrifice conversation with your employer. I read every single comment and I want to know. And if you know someone who just got a promotion and is trying to figure out why their payslip doesn't add up, send them this video. It might be the most useful thing they watch this year. This is Mr. Financial Mindset. I'm Muzaffar Teja, reminding you, you weren't born to pay bills and die. You were born to earn with intention, build with strategy, and make every pound work as hard as you do. I'll see you in the next one.